Just before Christmas, in the year 2000, an horrific discovery was made by the edge of the River Thames in London, a severed torso of a woman. It did not take long for the police to identify the victim as 24-year-old Zoe Parker, but to this day, we still do not know who took her life. Zoe Louise Parker, also known as Kathy Dennis, grew up in Hounslow. Her parents reportedly separated when she was just 3 months old. Aged 18 months, Zoe was taken into care and spent her childhood in foster homes, causing trouble and being aggressive. Zoe had learning difficulties and had been in and out of institutions. Despite her issues, Zoe was a very sociable person and often connected with strangers and fellow homeless people, as well as her clients she had, working as a prostitute. However, working is not necessarily the right word, as Zoe offered sex when she was desperate for attention or desperate for somewhere to sleep. Zoe's auntie, Pauline Knott, once said she used to go up and talk to the wrong people. She was quite lonely and would talk to anybody just to make a friend. She was very naive, very gullible. If people came across as being nice to her, that was it. She just wanted to trust people. Zoe had a very erratic lifestyle. She moved around West London, between Isleworth and Feltham, Hounslow, and then sometimes to the West End. In 1995, she was sectioned under the Mental Health Act and treated at Wadham Court. Later, in 1998, Zoe was convicted of assault and sent to jail for a while. All this time, the young woman had minimal contact with her family. The last time Pauline saw her niece was September 2000, when Zoe had been thrown out of a hostel for breaking the rules. This time, Pauline did not have time to help, as she was on her way to visit a grandchild in the hospital, and so she asked Zoe to go to her mother or social services, which the young woman did not want to do. Frustrated, Zoe began drifting again, and then she disappeared. But with nobody to miss her, Zoe was never listed as a missing person. On the 17th of December 2000, around 11:30 a.m., a dismembered torso of a young woman was discovered in the water between two moored barges at Battersea, West London, by the owner of the Landrail Houseboat. The body had been cut in half at the waist, and only the upper half was recovered. It seemed that the victim had been strangled first, but otherwise there was little to work with. As DCI Ian Mill said, "We don't know where she was murdered or where along the Thames her body was dumped, or how long she'd been there. However, there was one detail that helped the investigation enormously to find out who the victim was: a tattoo of a rose. The red rose was located on the left arm, and it had a name on it, Zoe. Along with details about the tattoo, the police published a description of the victim in London papers. White woman, between 5'3" and 5'7", slim to medium build, and could have been in the Thames River since November the 25th. Soon enough, someone recognised the tattoo from the photographs and contacted the police, identifying the victim as Zoe Parker. An investigation called Operation Sidbury was launched, and soon enough, the police learnt that Zoe was last seen with two men in the Treaty Centre in Hounslow on CCTV on the 6th of December. She was also seen on CCTV footage in the HMV store in Hounslow, where she would go to listen to music. The two men were described both being white with dark hair. One was wearing a white casual jacket and dark trousers and white trainers, and the other one had dark clothing and a stocky build. However, despite the CCTV footage, the identities of these men remain a mystery. During the investigation, the police concluded that Zoe's body had most likely been in the water for between 1 and 3 weeks and was dumped anywhere between Teddington and the Thames estuary. It's hard to say if the lower part of the body was also dumped into the river or somewhere else. The strength of the current makes underwater searches almost impossible in the River Thames. The only thing we do know is that Zoe's lower body has never been found within the last 2 decades. The police have had some leads, and during the investigation, at least 5 men were arrested on suspicion of murdering Zoe, but no charges have ever been filed. Detective Inspector Ian Mill said that trying to solve Zoe's murder has been challenging due to many factors. We are taught that when we investigate crimes, we're looking at the victim, suspect, and location, and in this case, the suspect and location have been removed. We don't even have all the information about the victim. Officers have appealed for a young woman called Carmen or Carmel from the Hounslow or Isleworth area, who may have been a friend of Zoe's, but it is unknown if this woman was ever located. Today, Zoe's case is freezing cold. Pauline has said the family had been devastated by her niece's murder. I will never be able to get what happened to her out of my head. It's sick. Absolutely sick. Please try to remember. Somebody must have seen her. Anything you remember may help us to understand, to try to resolve this terrible thing that has happened to our sad and lonely Zoe. Zoe's mother, Jacqueline, also gave a statement. Zoe was a loving, caring daughter who meant the world to me. She did not deserve this. Please come forward. Now, more than 20 years later, someone with information coming forward might be the only way how the murder of Zoe Parker will ever be solved. Was she killed by a client, or was she the victim of a serial killer? We might never know, but what we do know is somebody knows more. With